Now, I was already sold on Paladin with its first episode, but episode 2 made it seem even better. This is not your typical fantasy series. This is something with emotion, with heart, with amazing world building. I mean, the focus that they're putting on gods alone is something to be praised and is worth a watch, because often when religion is applied to anime, you don't get that very deep reasoning behind the different gods' mentality, who likes who hates who, and the different ideas of worshipping one will grant you this, but probably will have a target painted on your back because this god hates that god that you're worshipping. There's definitely some deep and dark secrets, especially on Gus's side, though I might argue all three of them probably have a similar dark secret, just they're handling it in different ways. I have a couple of ideas that seem, I think, plausible given what we've seen over these 2 episodes, especially with episode 2, but even then I'm not confident I can predict where the series wants to go. The only safe assumption I have is that 1, it's going to be emotional, and 2, I worry about what might happen to Will, or what characters might attempt to do to Will in order to get him to do something, like in the case of Gus. I mean, the whole idea that throughout this episode, I got a mixture of characters want Will to kill them, or characters want Will to die so that they will stick by him. And I'm not sure if it's a universally agreed opinion of what Will should do and what Will should be, as basically, Will has a family here. He has a mother and a father between Mary and Blood, and he has a grandfather, as he calls him in this episode, with Gus. And very early on into this episode, Will fights and he kills a skeleton, right? And Blood seems visibly not concerned, but more so he's acknowledging what he just accomplished. And to me, what that said was that he has the ability to kill the undead. And maybe that's something that's not easy to come by, maybe that's only something a human can do, and maybe ultimately we're building up to the point where the ritual and the kind of rite to becoming an adult is not only are you going to leave us and go on your own journey, maybe they're going to ask him to kill them so that they can, finally rest in peace. I could see that being an emotional hook, but I could also see, based on what Gus asked him to do in this episode, he said, make sure you forfeit the match. And I think that can go 2 different ways. 1, he doesn't want Will to leave, meaning that if he loses to Blood, he's not an adult and he can't go just yet. Or 2, that would get him killed, and then in return would that make him an undead that would stick by them forever? I could see both of those being plausible. The only thing that I think is throwing a wrench into that theory for me is that in the cave, Gus wasn't supposed to be there, seemingly, because Blood didn't know he was there. And Gus, even though he wasn't necessarily trying to kill Will, as Will acknowledges that should he want to kill him, he could have used flames and removed the oxygen, he's a ghost, doesn't matter, or he could have just completely disrupted the cave and crumbled it on him, he's a ghost once again, he would have been fine. Yet he was actively attacking him, but it seemed like he wanted to be killed. So I'm very curious, because the ritual sounds to me like should he pass it, then at that point, he would leave. But at the same time, I just don't understand what Gus is doing. So it feels like a teeter-totter for me of thinking either they want to die, they want him to leave, or maybe a bit of both. But I'm very curious. The only thing I'm confident in is that it's going to be emotional, and I think Will's voice actor did an amazing job at really selling that pain. And the fact that he said, you could ask me to die for you, and I would gladly do it. Just basically don't bullshit me around. Tell me what you want, and I will help you. Hell, he admits that he would throw the match with Blood if he explained why, but apparently he can't. And I think it's probably something to do with the oath of the gods and something like that, because as we get some confirmation, not only just about different gods who likes who and the idea of good versus evil, but ultimately when he decides which god he's going to follow, he has to make some sort of promise. In the case of Blood, he would train every day. In the case of Gus, he basically would have an easygoing life. And the more powerful a promise, the more divine protection you would get, but ultimately that comes with calamity, right? And I'm interested to see which god he'll choose, because I don't think he'll choose either one of their gods. I think he'll pick something specifically for him, and I've heard nothing but good things about where this show will go, And I mean, based on the reaction of the first episode, seemingly source readers are really enjoying how they're adapting it for sure. And it's just something that's different because in my first impressions, I mentioned stuff like Greek, Roman, Egyptian mythology. That type of stuff, even if you're not like a religious fanatic and you don't find religion to be all that interesting, really reading up in the mythologies there is really engaging. And that's the exact impression I'm getting from the gods in this world. And I heard from the comment section last week that this isn't a story that just kind of like slaps religion down and calls it a day, meaning like, oh, a character's religious, but it really has nothing to do with their character. But apparently the gods actively have a role in this series, and it explores and it opens up in very unique ways. And you're already getting a taste of that within the first couple of episodes, even if it's not the most relevant topic per episode, more so Will's adventure and training and becoming stronger and stronger to probably ultimately part ways. But I feel like there has to be a death or some form of an emotional gut punch that really will sell it. But I guess we'll see, right? I mean, had Gus not asked him to forfeit the match, I think it would be very easy to predict where Gus's mindset would be because he wants to be killed. But the fact that he's asking him to forfeit, it's like, what does that mean? Like, are they going to go away? Are they going to, never go away if he wins? Like, what's happening here? And it's just feeling like a fantasy like I've never seen before. I really don't find myself looking at this show and saying, oh, this reminds me of X. Rather, I'm just like, wow, that actually kind of feels different. It feels like, okay, sure, you have creatures and kind of like boss battles that I could probably think of video game comparisons, but the way the characters and story is being presented very much feels like a very original story with nothing that I need to compare to sell it. It just feels that good by itself. And I actually thought the action was pretty good in this episode. I mean, is it going to be the best action of the season? No. But I also don't think it needs to be. I think it does when it needs to. I love the skeleton designs and the fact that I actually made this comparison in the Sakugan review that I did for episode 2. Because of the way they're detailed, you can very much duplicate them and have like an arsenal of skeleton warriors come at you and have it look pretty good. And the fact that they were in a dark cave when they fought for the most part, sure, there was the lit scene when he was training, but it was there for so little time. The darker the scenes, the more easy it is to blend character models like those skeletons into an environment, and the lighting effects from the shield and the spear, really cool. Love the little details, like the spear has two elements to it. One, it can be a light/distraction, and two, its length can change, so very easy for transportation, which is something I've always questioned, like characters who use like staves for like their main weapon has to be very awkward. So he could basically make it into a dagger, and then he can make it into a giant ass spear. Really cool details that most anime just kind of gloss over because they think anime fans are stupid and they don't need to see that. But that's what separates an average show to something with a lot of meat and substance, where you don't have all those source readers saying, no, if you really want to see how good the story is, you have to read the source because the anime made it into a basic production. Where with Paladin, that little bit of extra bells and whistles, the meat and potatoes are always there, and that's kind of what makes this series special. I mean, I was sold after episode 1, I'm even more sold now. I'm expecting something emotional either in episodes 3 or 4, and the fact that they're continuing to take its time with Will growing up and becoming an adult, becoming a man, is something I really dig. Let me know your thoughts and feelings so down below. What did you think, and what's your theories on what might happen? Please no spoilers if you know of the source material. Part of the fun of anime like these is speculating, getting it right, getting it wrong. That's always fun, so let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.